Good evening. It's Friday the 3rd of September. We're here with another edition of the Jungle Jumps podcast. I'm your host for tonight, Paddy. I'm standing in for Gav. With me is our other regular commentator, McGinty. How are you?
Howdy, yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Excellent. And as you'll notice, we've got another lovely new face tonight. Let's welcome Dazza to the podcast. How are you, my friend?
It's not bad. Just been a wee bit apprehensive, a wee bit nervous doing this, but
good stuff, Weather. I'm sure you'll get up to speed with it as we go on, mate. So it's been an interesting one the last few days for Celtic. Obviously, coming off the back of a defeat to Rangers, we ran into the final night of the transfer window, and it was very busy overall. McGinty, what do you think?
Overall, on the transfers, I think we done reasonably well. I'd give it an 8 out of 10 for a transfer window. I think we spent 20 million, is it 20.5 million, which is second largest that we spent this millennium, in fact ever, when you consider the inflation changes. I think the last time we spent this much money was when we signed Sutton and Lennon and the likes for the kind of 5-6 million mark. So it's good to see that we spent a good chunk of money. We've definitely brought more money in, but we've done it on, 12 players, and we're able to field a whole new 11. So overall, I think we've done very well. But it's not exactly all perfect for me. There's some things that annoy me, but on the whole, yeah, I'm quite happy.
So on that lovely note, we'll just do a quick rundown of the outs and ins. So we'll start off with the outs. Noticeably, Hodgson Edward left for Crystal Palace. Ryan Christie went to Bournemouth. Christopher Ayer left earlier on to Brentford. Also at the start of the season, Jack Henry left for Ostenda. And obviously he ended up with a big move to, I'm not sure who it was, McGinty, who was it?
Club Brugge, was it? Yeah.
Club
Brugge. There's corruption there somewhere along the line.
Especially when Jack Henry's gone for 10 million, you know what I mean?
The way I see that one, guys, is we loaned him out though when he was shit, and we didn't rate him. We wanted to sell him, we couldn't get a buyer. We put in a release clause. We wanted shot of him. He's not Celtic class. Fair play to the lad. He worked his arse off. You've had some interviews with him over the year, how he realised that he fucked his opportunity at Celtic, and if he did come back, he would want to do it differently and all the rest of it. So fair play to him. He's obviously matured, but that's the risk you take. We're about to do the same thing with some of our loanees. We're going to try and snap them up for a couple of million.
And speaking of another...
on Jack Henry, you've got to ask yourself, would he have been playing in any of the games up until the close of the window?
No.
Possibly.
Could you imagine playing, and I mean absolutely no offence to either of them, but could you imagine Jack Henry with Staffelt going into the Rangers game? You would fucking, you would pull your eyes out.
But who would have imagined? Who would have imagined Stephen Welsh going into the Rangers game with Staffelt?
True. And therein lies some of my annoyance with the window of how long things took. But yeah, fair play to Henry overall, though.
So speaking of another two guys who fucked up their careers, as you nicely put it, McGinty, Olivier Cham was released by Celtic, mutual termination, 1 year left on his contract. And then you had Lee Griffiths, went to Dundee on loan. So other than that, it's another 4 loans out of the club. You've got Ross Doohan, Jonathan Afolabi, young Steve O'Connor. Lee O'Connor went back to Tranmere, and Scott Robertson went out on loan as well. So that rounds up the outs. Are you happy or sad with any of those guys going out?
I don't think any of them was going to be a loss. A big losses, obviously, your big ones are Edward, Ayer, and Christie, of the kind of ones who were established first teamers. Cham should have been gone long ago. We should have took the Porto money. The disappointing side is that we didn't get the 10 last season, and that's why some of these players stayed on, and it's reduced the value that we've got for them. But overall, they're all players who are due to leave, I think.
Well, one of the only ones that actually commented was Chris Ayer, I believe. He was the only one that's publicly come out and said that he was asked to stay on for the 10, and he basically said that he would give another year.
It would have been nice if you could have got, especially Ayer and Edward, to have signed that little 1 year extension just to give us a little bit of a cushion. But it's the way football goes.
And Petrov special.
Exactly, a Petrov special. Would we get 8.5 million for him? Signed a contract and we agreed to it. You trust the player puts a lot of trust in you though if you do that, and you don't want to break that trust. And I'm not convinced. Last season anyway, our board was very trustworthy, especially when you look at the things under Rodgers and Dembele previous. I don't think many players would have been willing to sign that extension.
Well, see, when you look at last season as well, the last season's summer window, I was particularly happy with it on paper.
On paper, aye. I mean, you look at the numbers that we brought in. Well, maybe not the number of the players, but you look at Albion and Jetty, 5 million, 4.5 million for Barkas, 3 million for Turnbull. We spent money and we kept everybody that we could. It just didn't work out, obviously. I mean, you bring in Duffy, Laxal.
And we all thought Big Shane Duffy was going to be a magnet for heaters in the box.
Oh, he's a magnet for something, but aye.
Calamity. I feel sorry for Shane Duffy, right? And I'm trying to. Last season, I'm trying to put it down as an anomaly, and the only way that we'll do that is if we win the league this year. But I felt sorry for like Shane Duffy, and then again, like I asked you earlier on, would Shane Duffy fit into this team? Would Shane Duffy have been? Do you know what I mean? Basically, it's all Lennon's fault.
It is all Lennon's fault. I think Duffy would have probably performed better. There would be less pressure on him. You look at what happened with Neil Beaton. He was obviously the favoured makeshift centre back for the first few games, but as soon as we got Starfelt up and running, we've dropped him. We've realised he wasn't the calibre. I reckon if Duffy was in now or Ange was in last year, sort of thing, if he had the same kind of shaky start, Ange would have dropped him for his own benefit. I think that probably would have helped him to go away, kind of train with the team a little bit more for a couple of weeks and bring him back in once he's a bit more confident. But he never got that chance under Lenny. He was thrown in and he was basically the whipping boy for so long of the season before we eventually did cave into the fact that the season was gone.
Well, I knew the season was gone in before Christmas.
Oh, 100%. 100%. You knew it back in September.
Ferencvaros by any chance? Ferencvaros by any chance?
No, I gave it a wee bit longer than that. I put that down to just as a bad night at the office. You know what I mean? It was like we peppered their goal and they took their 2 chances and scored. But it was just a bad night at the office, that one. And if we had them on a replay, we would have turned them out. But because it was just a one-off game, cup final, I think for me was probably Ross County putting us at the cup. I think then. And then it got to New Year, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, right, the Huns normally collapse after the bells, but that Dubai escapade, and then we collapsed.
That was ridiculous. In hindsight, looking back to that as well, when Lennon comes out, all guns blazing 3 weeks later to try and have pops, was it Andy Walker or Charlie Nichols, but one of the two of them, had labelled it the Jolly to Dubai, which I think most fans had labelled it at some point as well. Lennon comes out, all guns blazing, trying to defend himself. And you see how the season panned out, and you see what he did at the first opportunity when the borders opened up between Scotland and England and they were allowed to go back to a pub. He was down there in the very fucking 24 hours later having a smiley.
Oh, I saw that.
Not to judge the character of the man too harsh, but kind of blatantly obvious you enjoyed Dubai for the chance of a night out sort of thing. But you had the cheek to try and tell the fans and the media that no, it wasn't a jolly. All my players are teetotal and athletes and all the rest of it. It's like, nah, clearly you were at the bar, mate. It's what you wanted. Personal opinion, anyway, could be wrong.
So just to move on for that, Dazza, is there any players that you're particularly sad or happy to see leaving? The ones that's left?
To be honest, I'm happy to see them all go. And there's not one player. I can't believe that this year, opposed to Edwards left. I was got ready for going and putting them in my wee silver bullet and taking them down to Crystal Palace myself, because he just lost interest. And if you lose, I want players that play. I would rather have 10 Jack Henrys fighting for the shirt than a Flair player that's half interest, if that makes any sense.
I don't think we've even seen one Jack Henry fighting for the shirt.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. I went for a Diddy player, not one extreme to the other. Christie, again, if his heart's not in it, then he you know what I mean? I want when I want you playing for Celtic, I want you to be playing for the jerseys. What was it? We're out here for yous being there for us. Do you know what I mean?
It's pretty poor. I think definitely last season highlighted a lot of bad attitudes from a lot of these players. The downing of the tools was very unprofessional. You can't pretend that it never happened. I can understand why. Clearly, it was a bad place to be last year when things started going sour. But at this point, you're looking at, as you see, Edward, Ayer, Christie are your big ones that have left. They're not a great loss to us. I think we're all still thinking we can do better. Ayer aside, Ayer I love, and I think he done well last season. One of the very few that actually did try. But overall, it's no love lost to see them go. It's just a shame that we didn't get the values that we hoped.
When you see a player celebrating a tackle in the goal line as if he's just scored a goal, then you know that his heart's in it.
Aye.
And as he just said, Ayer gave his all until he was away. So to go back to your question, there you go, Ayer, 30 T's left. Wish we could have him for longer.
I would agree with that as well. Right, so we'll move on to the players that came in. You had, Liam Walsh and Uzazi Urigide, who came in from Sheffield Wednesday.
Liam who?
Walsh.
Liam Shaw.
Sorry, excuse me. I've been making that mistake all week.
Aye, you done it in the group chat as well.
I know, I do apologise. Sorry, Liam Shaw.
This is what I'm going to bring at the party, being an absolute dick.
No, listen,
I'll
do it. I've been making this mistake all week, and I can't for the life of me understand why. But Liam Shaw and Uzazi Urigide from Sheffield Wednesday. Again, this list is in no particular order. Kyogo Furuhashi came in from Vissel Kobe, Japan.
That one. Or is that the wee Japanese boy?
Kyogo.
We gave it away.
Kyogo.
What a player we've got,
Aye. He must be a player when you see Iniesta in tears that he's leaving, you know what I mean?
I absolutely love that fanfare. I've never seen it for a player leave. It's not been like Iniesta leaving Barcelona himself sort of thing. It's phenomenal to see. He must have been a talent to know that. And we've seen it already. He is a talent.
Absolutely. And you can see with the amount of goals that he scored and the intensity and you know, intelligence that he's brought to the Celtic forward line.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. The way he reads a game is fantastic. You watch him quite often and he'll read that line and he's maybe a yard or two off and he'll realise, he'll just take that step back and he'll wait. And once he knows the pass is coming, then he makes a burst and run forward. He's so intelligent at reading that line and reading the game. He's not just kind of aimlessly running and hoping for a long ball up to me. He's planning it all. It's brilliant.
Do you know how good he is? He's that good that he's the reason I agreed to come onto this podcast.
Thank you, Kyle.
Because I'm telling you what, I would never have been coming on here. And if it was all last season doom and gloom, I can't bring myself on here. I mean, I've suffered it enough. I don't want to suffer it again. So the very fact that we've got somebody that's got us off our seats again, and it's making me want to talk about it. So there we go.
Good. That's what we're here for.
Well, listen, you're not the only one, because I mean, if you look at obviously the fans are back in at Celtic Park now. If you look around the stadium, you can see the amount of Japanese flag it's flying.
Oh,
and the crowd. You know what I mean? That just shows you that you've got your new fan favourite already, and the guy's only been in for a matter of weeks, months.
I saw somebody post a picture on. It was either on one of the message boards or on Twitter or somewhere on the social medias, and they posted a picture of the Japan game from the other night, and there's already pictures of guys sitting in the crowd with the new season Celtic tops on. It was brilliant to see. You know the marketing are gonna love it. The money men, yeah. And what is it? 5 million we spent on, just under 5 million. You're getting a quality player.
I think it was about 4.8, yes, just under 5 million.
You're getting a quality player for it, and you're getting marketing money out of it as well. We will make that back in shirt sales in Japan alone.
I bet you the street vendors were scared when Nakamura left and like, what we got to do with these Japanese flags now?
Oh,
and then they've just dusted,
stole them.
They've just dusted them.
I've been sitting in stories for about 10 years. Too embarrassed. So moving on, guys, we signed Liel Abada, young Israeli winger from Petah Tivka, for 3.6 million. We also brought in Karol Starfelt from Rubin Kazan in Russia for 4.2 million. Any thoughts on those two guys?
Abada.
Sorry. Abada and Kyogo, right? The two of them have got a song already. So that's how, what I mean? That's how well they're for. James Forrest, I don't think he's got a song.
He's been here for 12 years.
I'm not too sure on these two songs, Dan, so would you fancy getting us a wee rendition?
What one?
You
pick one.
No, I'm not singing, man. the viewers will all be like, get that.
I turn that off already. Right, moving on. James McCarthy came in on a free transfer from Crystal Palace. That's a move that's been about 10, 11 years in the making. How do you think he's going to fare, McGinty?
Hard to say. He's 30, so he's still got a few years in him, but obviously injuries have plagued him the last kind of 3 or 4 years. Namely one big one, but he's had a few niggles. We need to get him up to some sort of speed. If he's only going to play the odd 15 minutes every 3 or 4 games, he's going to be useless to us. We want to see him start in a game. We want to see him influence a game, control a game, and make his mark on it. I think if we can get that back, that kind of player back who can do that, like start games and play the 90 minutes, I think he'll offer quite a lot. But if he's only going to be an impact sub, I'm not too sure. But it's a free transfer, so it's worth a punt.
Dazza, I noticed you're wearing your Ireland top tonight, pal. We're speaking about an Ireland international. What's your thoughts on James McCarthy?
The boy from Castle Milk. Do you know, I've always wanted him. You know what I mean? He's any Celtic fan that wants to pull in the hoops. You know what I mean? And back then, I think Celtic would have been his preferred move away back in the day. But obviously, Wigan were giving him the money, but he was like, "No, I want Celtic." And then his agent's like, "No, you're going to get Celtic will always be there." And now he's back. Now he's here. Just try to get him fit now. If we can get him fit, then I watch this space. I'd say.
Yeah. Well, obviously, if you look at his the last season he was at Crystal Palace, he played a lot of games. And the Crystal Palace fans were actually really, really happy with him, with his contributions and his play, and obviously his fitness as well. They'd noticed a considerable jump.
Good so, year.
Sorry, I'll learn my cues.
Learn your place.
He's only been injured like once in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I was looking at it as he was saying. I was looking at there's that big one. I can't remember what he did, but obviously would he break his leg or something? Was it that had him out for a good year and a half almost? But I think on either side he's had a niggle on either side, so it's made it look a lot worse. But generally, it's the big one that's done him, that's put him out. So here's hoping it's not sparked any sort of niggling, recurring injuries. Because as you say, if you can get him back to fitness, get him back to the way he was, 5, 6, 8 years ago, he'll be a great player for us. And at 30, there's still life in you yet. Look at Craig Gordon coming in after a horrid injury and whatnot. If you can get these players back fit, they can give you a turn. There's a good few years left in them.
I've just done as a solid with Craig Gordon, didn't he?
You what?
The Huns, they done as a solid.
Oh, they did. They got him right up to full fitness for us.
Aye, thanks, lads. I'm just thinking back to. I actually had a look at James McCarthy's injury history, and for what I remember, it's been mostly hamstring injuries, apart from obviously the main one, which is the leg break. So I'm just wondering if that's going to be something it's a recurrence. You know what I mean? Because that seems to be a regular theme throughout his career. Was the hamstring injuries. But again, like he had that bad leg break. He was out for, I think it was just over a year, and then when he came back to fitness, he didn't really feature much for Everton, and then moved on to Crystal Palace. But as you say, let's hope the worst is behind him and he gets up to speed, and he's not only can he be an important player for us, hopefully can be an important figure, because he's 30 now, he's got a lot of experience, he's played the Premiership down in England, Ireland International, and we're missing kind of big time players and experienced players, especially with Scott Brown leaving. So hopefully he can go somewhere to kind of fill that void for leadership and experience.
I noticed something from another player that obviously we just signed, and we'll lead into Joe Hart. The other day,
That's actually my next on my list.
is he next? Excellent. I'm reading your mind there. But I noticed he's obviously looked a lot more assured than the likes of Barkas and Bain before him, even more assured than Craig Gordon was in controlling and commanding his area sort of thing. But I noticed in the last game against Rangers, especially the point, I think it was just before half time, he had a free kick, and his passion and the way he was screaming at the defence to get 3 men into the wall, really aggressively trying to get that point across them. Obviously, the noise and the sound probably was deafening in itself, but he seemed so confident in how he wanted to tell them what to do. He was taking leadership there. And then you saw him later on, obviously, a few errors, a few mistakes in, was it the Alkmaar game, where you end up seeing him realising, oh, we can't fuck up, I can't totally trust the back line. You saw him taking a more controlling, demanding role of it, coming out more for the ball when they were putting crosses in against Alkmaar. So I think he's building into that leadership role, and I think hopefully McCarthy as well, if he came back up to fitness, he's at that age and experience that he could bring that into the squad as well. That alongside the emergence of McGregor is looking like a great captain and a great player again. I think you're going to have a good set of kind of leaders in the team, which can only be a good thing again.
And obviously you still get the likes Christopher Julian and James Forrest to come back, but we'll speak about that later when we're talking about the international break, which we're in just now. Next up is Josip Juranovic, Croatian fullback from Legia Warsaw, 2.2 million. Dazza, what do you think of this young man?
I've seen two things here. The wonder goal he scored in his last day for Legia, and then after Boric gave him a cuddle in that game. And then I seen him against the Huns, right? And then Paddy, as the day went on, the pints were fairly piling up on that table. So I'm kind of the Huns game is a mist. It's a haze.
That's because you were watching it like
that. But I think he's gonna. There's a player. The boy's a player.
Well, we had Jackie Jakinovsky, I believe it was, spoke about it, and he basically said that he could not believe that Celtic managed to sign him for just over £2 million. He was flabbergasted. McGinty, do you think that signing an international player like that, obviously he's got a bit of recognition about him now, he's on the books at Celtic now, do you think that that's going to be an excellent acquisition?
I believe so. For me, he's the kind of player we should be chasing. He's been around for a couple of years. He's got, seasons behind him. He's not a 19-year-old who's breaking in for the first year sort of thing, and we need to kind of be careful with him. He's got experience. He's played in these clubs that are vying for European spots the same way that we are. He's an internationalist that's maybe not, the number one go-to at right back for Croatia, but he's there and thereabouts. He's getting caps, and he's shown a lot of promise. We've kind of probably stolen him away from Legia Warsaw when he, as you say, maybe somebody else of a higher caliber in European football could probably have came in and taken him off him and had a good spell with him. But I think we've done well to get a hold of him. He's the kind of player we should be seeking, going to these kind of nations and finding these kind of players. And yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do. He had a good game against Rangers, playing at left back. He's out of position, but he had a good solid game, so you can only assume he must be better if he's playing on his favourite right side.
Celtic, like you just said, Celtic is an attractable option for players.
Definitely.
And all you have to say to a player is one of your selling points is Van Dijk, Wanyama, Edouard, Dembele, Aya. All that has went before, and it's went for good money. Tierney, all that's went before. So if he's a player that's looking to step onto the bigger stage and get saw the way that, then that's what Celtic have to say is, look, we are an attractable. So, and just sort of to go back to Hart, and what I loved about Hart when he says now he goes, look, I've done my homework on Celtic just as much as you have done on. I know it. Stevie Woods is like, And as a coach, I've heard great things, and that's one of the reasons I'm here to work under him.
100% Joe Hart would have spoken to Fraser Foster and he would have got that
He
information
said
from
that.
him. 100%. Aye.
He said that. He goes, I phoned Fraser, and I mean Fraser had a good talk at length, and Fraser couldn't. And Fraser had me sold on Celtic.
Oh, 100%. You see what I think you've seen, was it earlier today or yesterday? There's an interview kicking about on one of the websites where he's mentioned about the atmosphere. I think he was trying to convince Carter Vickers to come as well. He's basically trying to sell him, look, this is an atmosphere that you're just never going to see again anywhere else. And Fraser Foster, for me, he obviously is an absolute fan favourite. He would have sold that 100%.
The boy Vickers has already brought his Catholic United, hasn't he? So
they tweeted out one thing the other day, and all of a sudden there's like the most hot topic on Twitter is Catholics United.
Well,
fair play to you guys. Milk it.
I tell you what, guys, I've got Carter Vickers at the bottom of my list, right? So we'll leave him for last. Dan, back to your Ireland top again. We've signed obviously James McCarthy. We also signed Liam Scales for Shamrock Rovers, £600,000. McGinty, I know that you've been a wee bit vocal about his signing. Would you like to change your mind, or would you like to stay on the same path? Or?
Yeah, I've been quite vocal on the message boards and social media when he was first getting announced, and straight away on the face of it, I'll hold my hands up. I jumped the gun. What is he, 22, 23? He's coming from Shamrock Rovers. There's a connection there with Dermot Desmond. Got a hand in both clubs to some degree. It screamed out a lazy Celtic signing. We know somebody who could do a job for us, sort of thing. Give it to one of the boys. And I was concerned that this lad was getting to the age of 22, 23, and none of the English clubs had snapped him up yet. And I don't mean that we should, let them snap up all the talent or anything, but excuse me, a lot of English clubs, if you look at Everton, Liverpool themselves, you look at even United, they usually have a hand in the Irish League and are snapping up youngsters when they're 18, 19. If there's a talent there, they usually have a hand on it somehow. And I found it a bit strange that he was at that age and hadn't been kind of involved in that kind of transfer rumour yet. But it turns out he was actually still playing 18 months ago with his university club, so clearly he favoured making sure he got his studies finished, whatever those studies were. He then got his move to Shamrock Rovers, and perhaps me being a little bit too kind of hasty with my opinions and assumptions, it actually looks like the connection with Desmond has actually probably worked in our favour, as in we know that he's there's a little connection, and it actually paid off for us to say we'll sign this guy before Man United do come in and realise they've not picked one up yet. So I'm now excited about him.
McGinty, was that a bit of praise for Dermot Desmond I heard there?
No.
As long as we've weighed up our options with Scales.
I hope we have. I mean, on the face of it, you would have loved that we went out and signed a left back in the equivalent way that I just talked about Juranovic as being, a somewhat established player, a few seasons under his belt at a decent level of club, and obviously being a capped internationalist. I mean, by all accounts, Scales, I think, actually got called up this afternoon. I think a couple of call-offs from the Ireland squad, he's been called up. So he's clearly impressed other people outside of Dermot Desmond for a lot of favour. So, yeah, I'm actually excited. I think him taking number 5 shirt this year as well kind of tells you a lot about something, either about himself and his commitment and his confidence, or about the club to allow him to take a shirt like the number 5, which would indicate they see him as somewhat of a first team squad player, as opposed to if he took like 37 or something, you would be like, okay, there's another Colts player. But no, yeah, it looks like we all have signed him for a reason, and left back is surely it.
Right, okay, guys, we'll move on. Next one on the list is Yorgos Giacomakis. Dan, what's your thoughts there?
I've been choking for you to say that. I was like, you've been practicing that all day, haven't you?
Weeks. No. He's been practicing that one. Weeks.
I still know him as Big Sammy's pal, because I've not got a clue. See, I'm normally like quite clued up in all this stuff, and I've watched all the YouTube clips. But I've been working a lot hard lately. You know what I mean? I've got a job where I'm working now, opposed to sitting about all day. So I've
For the record, should we tell the viewers roughly what job you done previously so they don't think that you're just a lazy bum?
No, I'm a lazy bum.
Okay, fair enough.
No, but like I'd say, I normally I would do reports for others, but instead I'd be on message boards and on YouTube's. But I've no, so the big Greek boy, I think I saw about 2 minutes of a clip of him, and he's just, the ball's going into his head, he's into his feet, he finds the space. So I'm hoping, you know what, like, do you know what I'm hoping? That he bullies defenders, because I think we've been too. Edward was a very, no lazy, but he was very, like, it's hard to explain Edward, not me, because he looked like he was moving in slow motion, but really he was going full pelt. And he would always come in late, but in a packed box, you couldn't get Edward anywhere near it. You know what I mean? But what I'm thinking now with this, I'm hoping he's the one that can get in there, ruffle a few feathers, and then get the heat on the ball. So I'm hoping we'll get the Croat boy and whoever's on the left swinging balls into him. I'm hoping that'll be a good thing. And then we Furiashi doing his thing.
So obviously, how many games has Furuhashi played in the J League, McGinty, before he came to Celtic?
I think he got to 21. Definitely 20 plus. I think he got 21 or maybe 22 if he played one last game before he came over.
So roughly half a season, or just over half a season.
Yeah. He's well and truly. You can totally tell with Kyogo, he is at peak kind of form, condition. He's on the ball sort of thing. Even that 10-day isolation didn't hold him back at all.
So if you think about that, right, obviously Kyogo's in full swing now for Celtic. He's, in my opinion, he's going to drop off at some point. Either be that form or fitness or just off the boil or whatever. I think it's very important that you get a player in who can either push him or take up the mantle if he's unavailable or needs a rest. Especially since he's played over half a season, as you say, in the J League.
Logo.
Aye,
James Forrest.
No, that's striker. Obviously,
striker.
I mean, Kyogo's playing mainly through the centre now.
And we've got the big. So all we need is that he's a great flair player that he'll get in the end of balls. He'll do all that, and hopefully now support the big man. Now, by the way, if you look at the Huns game in isolation, with Kyogo, he done everything right apart from the last couple of chances. But he done everything right. He made the chances, and it's not his fault that he did have an assist. If Eddie hit any other part of Eddie's body, you know what I mean? So if he's doing that, if that was hindsight is 20/20 vision. But if that was that big Greek boy, he'd have put his laces through that. Do you know what I mean? Or Dell's Eddie's just, it's frustrating even talking about it. But
he's not here anymore. He's not here anymore.
What I want to see happen is I want to see Celtic at full pelt, Abada, Kyogo, maybe Forrest, and then just getting balls into the big man. If the big man can lay it after, then you get Kyogo, Forrest then running into support. Oh God, we could be devastating this season. Yeah. And once we get into full pelt.
We've definitely missed a player, as you say, a forward or striker that brings a bit of physicality. To go back to Edward was the type of player who liked to drop a wee bit deeper and face the defenders with the ball at his feet. He would rather run at the defenders with the ball, but his off the ball movement, it wasn't the best in terms of kind of ruffling any feathers with defenders. To my knowledge, he didn't score a great amount of headers, anything like that. So we've definitely been missing a target man type player, if you want. So I mean, looking at Giacomakis, YouTube clips, whatever, it does seem to be that quite a bullish type player. As you say, there's no, when he takes a shot, most of his goals, it's no kind of trying to pass it in, kind of nice sweet finish. You know what I mean? He's putting the laces through it. He's kind of old school that way, by the looks of it. So I'm looking forward to having that type of that type of player who you can switch up a wee bit. Like if say you're playing an away game to Ross County or something, you know what I mean, and you've got three big ugly defenders. And I'm sorry to Ross County, I'm just picking a name out the hat there. Three big ugly defenders, four whatever, and your Kyogo's on maybe getting physically know the best out of the situation. You could maybe put your Giacomakis on, or maybe he's taking it over the mantle. Right, guys, moving on. We signed 2 loan players with options to buy. The first one was Jota from Benfica. That was it was a loan deal with a 6 million option to buy. McGinty, have you done your homework?
He's in Benfica. That's all I need to know. No, I'll not pretend to be that clued up on Philippe Jota. But he's coming from Benfica. He's very talked about in a positive manner. I think Benfica are kind of hoping that he does do something, but I think they're probably accepting that if he does enough for us, then yeah, 6 million is probably a fair price for them to get something back. But he's came through that Benfica B squad and that reserves team at Benfica in the last kind of 3, 4, 5 years has been absolutely fantastic. When you look at some of the players who've came through there and moved on, João Felix for one, going to Madrid, so Atletico Madrid. Is he on that caliber? Probably not. We wouldn't have him on loan at this time if he was on that caliber. Somebody else would have snapped him up. But he's going to bring something different that we're not used to. That Portuguese, Spanish kind of trickster winger, we're not quite used to that. We had a little taste of that kind of style when we had Paddy Roberts. James Forrest is not that kind of player. He's very much an old traditional British winger. But Jota, I think, is going to offer us something a lot different on that left side that I would like to hope is going to complement the attacking three, especially when you think Abad on the right, where he has drive and determination, his power and strength that he's got going forward and breaking into that box. That supporting on the left with a bit of a trickster and a bit of a flair player there to then support Kyogo through the middle. I think going against 90% of the teams that we'll face is going to just be fantastic. You're going to see, 70-odd% possession and about 30-odd shots every game, probably about 5 or 6 goals each. I think Jota's going to play a part in that. If he's what we assume he's going to be, Portuguese winger, I think he'll do well.
For what I saw, he was part of a Portugal under-19s team that did very, very well in their World Cup. And I think he played alongside the boy from Barcelona, Trincao.
Yep. Another good player.
Another great young player, and he looks to be in a kind of similar mould of the winger that he's not particularly pacey, but what he's got is he's got bags of potential. Bags of skill and quality. And for what I've read, kind of a few reports for Portuguese journalists and whatever, is he's the type of winger who likes to beat a man and then try and beat him again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
as long as you can do it twice.
Exactly. So if he can do it twice, that's good. But on the face of it, I mean, he looks as if he's going to be a player who could potentially be very exciting to watch. And we don't really have any of those players on the left-hand side for Celtic.
He's going to be bums off seat.
Is that done?
We think he's the only player that was ever allowed to beat a man and beat him again. But he just done that just because he could.
Well, if you're going to bring a European Cup to Celtic, you can do whatever you want, to be honest.
Well,
see what you're talking about earlier on. Sorry, just again go back. What I want to see less at Celtic is I want to see less touches around the box and trying to. I want to see shots. I want to see shots for the D. I want to see shots for somewhere in between the halfway line and the. I want to see keepers tested. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to see.
Maybe know your halfway line, but I think when you look at what style of football we're playing and what Ange says he wants to happen, he wants the no more than 2 touches, 1 touch to control it, 1 touch to pass it, constantly moving, breaking into space, dragging their players through. I think you're going to see a lot of that, Dazza. I think you're going to see a lot more quick-paced action in that kind of final third and a lot more shots, especially if you're looking at guys like Abad and Kyogo who clearly know how to find the back of the net.
What you might see there is if say for instance Jota comes on during the match or if he plays, If you've got Liam Scales playing at left back, I think if your Jota gets the ball on the left hand side, if he plays there, he's going to be the man to kind of cut inside. And I can honestly, I can see Scales just bombing down the left hand side. I mean, the big boy's 6'3". He's proper left footed. He's not right footed. He looks as if he's one of the boys that'll just drive the ball in. You know what I mean? Nothing too fancy, but just a big bomber.
A big Beckenbauer run.
Well, I can play centre back as well. Right, guys. The last big one we've got on the list. I've got a couple more after that, but this is the last big one. This was announced 3 minutes till the Scottish deadline, I believe, and that was Cameron Carter-Vickers from Spurs. Again, another loan signing with an option to buy, which I believe is in the region of £3 million. Dan, what do you think of that one, pal?
I know absolutely nothing about the boy. I'm not going to come on here and start talking, saying a lot of words that I don't know.
Do you know who his boyhood club was, Dazza?
I'm going to start talking about that.
Right, well, let you go with that one.
That's my new English team. No, but having a look at him, he looks strong. He looks like he's going to have the presence. You know what I mean? And again, that's what you want. You want somebody that's got the presence. You want somebody that's not going to duck out. No, you want somebody that's going to have a bit of dig in him as a defender. You know what I mean? But other than that, I really should have been more prepared for this tonight. When you think about it.
Oh, you're fine, mate. You're absolutely fine.
To be fair, it was quite last minute. We weren't going to do anything, so it was quite last minute.
I just wanted my face on the telewaves.
I just wanted to see you.
Mate, I hate to tell you, but we've not put your face on. We've only been listening to you. McGinty, you were quite vocal about demanding a centre back the transfer window. How happy are you to have got that?
Really happy, really happy, and I'm going to caveat that with what I said earlier at the start of this. There's parts of this thing that is quite annoying, and this is the pinnacle of Celtic to me and the annoyance. So the the rumours, the news, what we know, we touched base with Carter-Vickers about a month ago, weeks ago. We touched base with Spurs to try and get him here on loan, and seemingly Spurs told us at the time, "No, you're not getting him on loan. We want to sell him outright," which is fair. That's their way to do business, so that's fair on them. But I don't recall being linked with any other centre back in the last 4 weeks. And as you said, it took until 3 minutes to the deadline to get this over the line. So you can presume. Sorry, Dazza.
Have you noticed that a lot of the players that's come in have come in like that without the speculation?
Look at
I
Kyogo.
mean, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Kyogo, Joe Hart. I didn't know about Joe Hart until somebody says, "Oh, Joe Hart signing," and then the next thing I know, Joe Hart's there.
There was links about a season and a half, 2 seasons ago with Joe Hart, but this time it just kind of happened. Kyogo, it just happened. Abada, it just happened. Guys like Vickers. Yeah, guys like
grass was in the dressing room. Sorry.
the tea lady with the wee note that she picked up in the bin.
Do you mind that?
I did. That is a terrible list when you saw that list of names of those players as well. And I think it was real true. What is it? 2 years ago when we got the list just after Rodgers had left, I think, and the list had been picked out the bin by the tea lady was the story, and there's pictures of a transfer list of targets for Celtic, and you looked at the list and you're like, fucking hell, this is brutal.
I've got a vague recollection of that, but you'll need to get any of the names off the list.
No sure 100% of all the names, but there's a couple that kind of flare, but we'll talk about that off camera. That's a divergence and a half, that one. But no, we Carter-Vickers, as I say, we touched base with it about a month ago. We got told no to a loan. We wanted to sell him. So what did Celtic do for the last month is my question. We needed a centre-back. As I said to you last week on here and talking to you guys on the social medias, I wanted a centre-back, and I'm really glad we've got it. But it looks like we literally went into the final hours of that transfer window and accepted that we weren't getting a centre-back until Spurs gave us a phone call and said, we want you to have him now. And I'm glad to have him because he's actually quite a good player. As Dazza says, he's going to be a bit of a strong guy, a bit of a brute, almost no nonsense. He's going to take, hopefully, care of things in the back line for us. So I'm excited to see him come in. He was always a favourite of mine to sign in the old Football Manager game, so that's about as much as I know of him. But it's exciting to get him in because he has got a bit of a name about him. He's 23. He's still quite young. There's plenty of years still left in him. And hopefully it's been one of these ones that Spurs have signed too many players, loaned them out too often, and we get the benefit now, where he's kind of winding down that kind of contract at Spurs.
Harry Kane.
I mean, if they want to loan us Harry Kane, I'm not going to bat an eyelid, but I think 150 million.
Well,
that's 150 million. That's 150 million, and whatever they pay him a week in wages. So they're like, right, we need to get somebody off the payroll. By young Vickers, so I'm going to Glasgow.
Carter Vickers at 20k, that'll sort their problems out.
He's a line of Harry Kane's right boot. I mean, Carter Vickers, as you say, again, he's 23. He's been on the books for Spurs for, God, he was a young laddie. He's had a lot of loan spells, lower leagues in England. Championship's probably he's the highlight of his level. But he's a USA international. You know what I mean? So he's got that experience there. Obviously qualifies for the USA through his father, which is a lot of people are kind of reading up now for his signing. I've spoken to a couple of boys who watch English football. They're English, sorry, I'll just say that. What they say about Carter Vickers is that he's obviously a big laddie. He's 6'4". He's pretty robust built. He is very strong, but he doesn't really show it a lot. That's not to say that he's weak or anything, but that he doesn't show his true potential of strength.
No, maybe no a Bobo Baldy, I'm going to go right through you sort of thing.
No, but he's one of these guys that could be, you know what I mean, but just doesn't. What's that, mate?
They broke the mould with Bobo. There's never been one Bobo.
There is.
And, by the way, did he have a loan spell at Bournemouth?
Carter Vickers, he did, yes. Last year.
I thought you were talking about Bobo.
No, I read a few posts on a Bournemouth forum about him, and they love him. They were calling him Mr. Clean Sheet and all that.
Between him and Joe Hart, I'll be happy then if that's what we're going to nickname these guys. I'm all right with that. I think he'll bring. It's easy to say it, but when you look at teams like Spurs, they're a well-run football club at a high level, well above us. You look at Bournemouth; he was there last year, sort of thing. They are an extremely well-run football club. The facilities that they've got are top notch. The way they coach and the way they train is one of the best in the UK, sort of thing. Okay, he was previously at Swansea and Luton. That's maybe not as great, but these clubs he's been at, same as Joe Hart, they're going to bring a level of professionalism to the club, which is going to be very valuable to other players like Stephen Welsh, who's still learning his trade. So I think guys like Carter Vickers can bring professionalism. They can bring some extra know-how of how to do things on the training pitch and help develop each other.
So what you were saying there then about Welsh here, that brings me on to the question that I've had in my head. Who dropped out then? Welsh or Starfelt? The guy that you've paid 3 point or whatever million, 4.5 million for. Do you say, okay, you're not at it now? But young Welsh has been a standout performer and he's no let us down.
For me, for the next game, if you're going to have to pick between the three, Welsh starts. And for me, if you want to keep a little bit of consistency, yeah, sure, Starfelt. But it's Welsh and Carter Vickers right now for me. I think Carter Vickers should come in.
See for me, guys, the most important thing as it stands now is that the squad that we've actually got 4 centre backs now. We've got the option of having the 4. Obviously, one of them being Julian, who's still injured. He's on his way back, but he's still there. And you're not getting into you're not carrying on into your season now with the likes of Beaton being one of your options as a centre back. You know what I mean?
With that.
That's exactly that. That's why I wanted the extra centre back in, because we were so light that the only options we had for the next few weeks is Starfelt and Welsh. And even when Julian comes back, if one takes an injury, you've only got 2 options for 2 positions. You need
Yeah.
4. You needed that 4th one.
Who knew that Tony Alves and Welshie would have been the first names on the team sheet for the defenders?
I'm not gonna lie, Tony Ralston's still not the first name on the team sheet for me. There's at least 5 or 6 ahead of him.
I don't saying the team sheet. I'm saying for the defenders.
I
I know what you're saying, but he's not let us down this season. Yeah.
No, he's no.
In fact, he's had more man of the match performances this season than he's young player of the year.
Already, and we've not even played a game in September yet.
I think you better calm it with the beers, mate.
You and Gavin are gonna love each other.
Listen. The last few games, Big Ralston's he has been brilliant. I'll give you guys due. Me and McGinty, Dazza, we've spoken about this on the kind of early pods that we started off. We were pretty harsh on Greg Taylor and Anthony Ralston specifically. But
Anthony Ralston, you gave him his Sunday name and all.
Mate, the guy deserves to have his name mentioned now, other than that bastard. But no, listen, he's definitely earned his place in the squad, right? What we spoke about again, McGinty, earlier on was that we needed quality options, right? Especially at the full back areas and the centre back areas. We've definitely got that in with Juranovic. It's just unfortunate for Ralston that this could potentially be a guy who comes in and takes his place when he's playing basically out his skin.
Playing out his skin, aye. Which is what you want. You want competition. And if Ralston plays more games than Juranovic because he's deserving of it and he's performing well and he's helping us win games, then so be it. Juranovic, you're out. Ralston's in. Whoever's on form plays for me.
And obviously on the other side, the other side of the park, you've got Greg Taylor, who's probably still going to be, well, I'm assuming, is going to be your number 1 left back. But you've now got Scales in. I know he's took number 5. I know that might not mean a lot, but it could mean that he's definitely no, as you said, going to be just kind of stuck into the Colts team. So you're hoping that he's going to offer a different dimension. So that leaves you with Greg Taylor and Scales at left back, and obviously you've still got what's his face, Bolingoli at the club, who doesn't appear to be in the picture whatsoever.
We didn't talk about him.
Big Bolly.
Go Bolly.
Well, we try not to, at least.
Did you know that he was? Did you know that he's big Lukaku's cousin?
Aye. And I think he's pretty much milking his whole career off the back of that one.
Is he?
Aye.
Him and Lukaku are cousins. There's a third one as well, I'm pretty sure.
Well, here you see Romelu Lukaku. His full name's Romelu Lukaku Bolingoli.
Aye.
Dazza
is like, wow.
He's like, wow, give me there.
Consider my mind blown.
Right, so that's us spoken about Carter Vickers. Right, we also signed 2 young fellas during the transfer window as well. Again, back to yourself, Dazza, with your Island tap on. We signed Bosun Lawal from Watford's Academy. He was the Academy Player of the Year previous to signing with Celtic. He's been playing in the Colts team.
Is that him that's tearing up the Bonnie Rig Rose stadium?
Yeah, you better believe it. He's running through his Kilbride like a raging bull.
How's the Colts team getting on? Because I've not really been following them.
They're getting on decent performances.
Are we above the Huns?
I would need to go and check that, to be honest with you.
Flung in a wee little curveball there, didn't I?
Yeah, I'll get my fingers moving.
You didn't say you did that, no, did you?
How dare you take this conversation away? But listen, he's another player who's he's versatile as well. He can play centre back and midfield, and he's definitely looks like a prospect. And moving on to the last one, we signed a young striker. Don't ask me too much about this guy, but Joey Dawson from Scunthorpe.
Signed Gary Hooper for Scunthorpe.
Joey who?
You kidding me on, Dar? You kidding me on? You've just ruined my teaser question. I was going to say, who was the last player that was signed for Scunthorpe? You've ruined it. You've ruined it. So I'm
The
going.
boys on the ball.
I'm going to get you in my next set of questions. I'll get you back for that. But Gary Hooper was the last player that we signed
You
for
rating it,
Scunthorpe.
Nina and Paddy?
Aye, I'll get you after. But no, he's another one that's went into the Colts team, and let's hope that he can develop one well. Right, moving on a wee bit, guys. Well, moving slightly on. So obviously we spoke about Liam Scales taking the number 5 jersey. Do you know what number jersey Mr. Yakimakis is taking?
Somebody at the club should have told him not to. No offence to the boy, but that is some hell of a pressure to take that number.
Dazza, would you like to tell the viewers what number he's got?
I went to hum the Magnificent Seven, and he ended up singing The Great Escape, and I stopped myself at and then after that, in case I went down that road. Well, there you go.
So Yakimakis is taking a number 7 jersey. So I've got a wee question for you guys. Right, here we go. Can you name every single player who has been number 7 since the millennium?
Larson.
The King.
Who?
The King.
Who's that?
The King of Kings.
Yes.
Henrik Larsson. Scott McDonald.
Hey, hold on, guys. Just let me count now. I'll tell you how many there's. 2. There's 9.
Scott McDonald. Paddy Roberts.
Did Roberts take 7?
Roberts did on his second term.
Right, so you've got, who have we got so far? We've got Larsson.
Aye. McDonald.
Yep.
Paddy Roberts on his second time. Shifty, aye.
Mm-hmm.
Did Miku or Lassad take it? One of the
yes,
two
he did. Miku.
Your man of 1,000 clubs, Robbie Keane.
Mm-hmm.
No, the man that's loved 1,000 clubs.
The Ryan Christie wannabe of I support every club I play for. Are we going to count Georgios Giamakos?
No. Well, we'll count him, and then that's 10 then. Right, so you've got most of them. You're doing well. There's 1, 2, 3 you're missing. Oh, 4, sorry. 4.
Lundberg,
yes. What kind of era for the other ones? Are we talking pre-2010, after 2010?
Because it was retired for long enough, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Never officially, but we didn't have anyone for a good few years.
So to answer the question, McGinty, 3. So you're missing 2.
Missing 2. Oh.
Don't be googling.
No.
My hands are here.
I wouldn't even know what to Google.
Every single number 7 since the millennium.
Celtic number 7s.
Obviously, that's what you done.
No, absolutely not. I'd picked this one right at the memory.
So when did your podcast turn into Clyde One?
Just when you showed up. Use that little celebrity feel.
And let's bring in our next guest, who's Alec Ray.
Let's think on these two. Let's have a wee think on those for a while.
Right. Okay. We'll bring back to that. So, where are we? We are. Excuse me. So the last game is obviously against Rangers, which we unfortunately lost. So that leaves Celtic sitting in.
I think if you say the R word, you should put a pound in a jar. The Huns, Dame.
I agree with you, right? But McGinty was going to tell me off.
I'm letting it go just now. I'm letting it go.
Sefco, we can be happy, Sefco, right?
let's be petty as fuck. Right, honest. Every time you say the R word, bum.
I'm just going to give you a tenner at the start of every week. Come on, my basis.
I've already said it once and I can buy the club.
Touche.
Right, so Celtic, we're sitting in 6th position. We've got 6 points.
We might make the top 6 then.
Yeah, well, we're mid.
By the way, can I didn't sound like Graham Souness here. Can I just say something?
Let's make up one anyway.
I'm not that concerned about that defeat there.
No,
I think-
not overly.
I
No.
think I saw enough in that game to know that if we took one or two of their early chances, we would have buried them with a cricket score. But we didn't, and we gave them hope. And I think I says to you after the game, I says the difference between the two teams in that was we were the better team in the first half and never scored. They were the better team in the second half and did score. Do you know what I mean? And that was all it was. We'd enough chances. So did they. They had their chances as well. Do you know what I mean? And they played for their chances. They played to hit us on the break. And by the way, but I'm not really concerned. I honestly think I can't wait. I think you're going to turn them over when we get them back to paradise in January. I can't wait for it.
Well, that's what I was going to lead on with. So obviously, we've played 4 games. We've got 2 wins, 0 draws. We've got 2 defeats against that lot in Hearts. We've scored 13. Aye, I'm trying to be political here. We've got 13 goals and 3 against. Right. So how do you think, Guy? How do you think that Ange Postecoglou has done since he's come in on as manager in his short tenure?
I think he's done fairly well. He's not 100% obviously because we didn't beat Hearts, so we didn't beat them. But he's done as good as you can expect him to. The style of football is very exciting. It's exactly what we want to see. High possession stats. Even in the game at the last weekend there against them, we still had great possession stats compared to them. We didn't get what we wanted out of it though. And I think the same way at Alkmaar, we still held our own possession wise, kind of on an even par, but we didn't get the result we wanted, but we still got through. There's lessons to be learnt from these games, and I think we're definitely going to see those lessons get learnt. You've had Ange acknowledge that playing Kyle go on the left and not through the middle was a mistake. So I think you're definitely going to see predominantly Kyle go through the middle, which means Gorgeous George II will have to play kind of backup second fiddle, which I think he's always going to be. For me, Kyogo is the Edouard replacement, and Giamakis is obviously going to be the kind of more Griffiths and Jetty replacement for backup. So I think he's learning those lessons. I think he's getting the help that he needs in the likes of Carter Vickers and Scales in the 2 kind of problem areas that we have at the back line. Hearts coming on to a good game. He's really controlling things. So these little things are building. I think you can excuse the early drop of points towards Hearts and them. And we can look positively forward and knowing that his style of football that he's bringing and how these guys are really taken to it quite well at the early part of this season, that it's great to see, and it can only surely get better. I mean, for me, it would be a disaster on massive levels to see this kind of fall apart and us not go on a good run.
Dazza, what's been your biggest notice from last regime of Neil Lennon as manager to Angie's short time here?
Just to go back to how I think Angie's doing. I'm going up to Celtic Park tomorrow to buy the jumper that he wears.
Oh, you know the little kind of crew cut with the wee subtle badge. It's a lovely jumper.
Yes, indeed. I'm getting right up to 50 quid. Take my money, Celtic.
Are you also going to get the grey trousers as well, mate?
Ooh.
I'll need to dig them out now. You didn't see me rushing to Slater's to get my suit with Brendan Rodgers, you know what I mean? Back to your question. The biggest difference? Celtic are playing with a smile on their face. Aren't they? We're playing with a smile on their face. We look more professional. We look fitter. We look hungrier. Listen, I love Neil Lennon, right? I do.
You're the only one so far.
I resent him for no leaving when he should have left. We all seen that he needed changed. And I'll tell you what, back then in the end of December, I was on a rig in Saudi, right? And the only place I could get a signal was out on the heli deck. And I was out there like with my iPad on my Celtic TV, watching that Ross County game. And the missus texted me and like that. And obviously she was watching it in the house, and she pretty much what I done to you the other day. Like she texted me that Ross County had scored, and I was like, I just shut my iPad and went away in my room and prayed. But Celtic looked it was hard to explain. The Celtic just didn't look interested. We didn't look. We didn't realise the magnitude. We didn't step up to how enormous 10 in a row is. And the Huns lapped that up because the Huns aren't any better than any of the other seasons that we've played them before. Do you know what I mean? They've not got any better. They're the exact same team and the exact same standard. Only the thing is we dropped our standard that much, we made them look good. So what I'm thinking now is I'm hoping that we can now raise the bar again and watch them fold. Because honestly, God, I reckon, you can hold me on this. I reckon we'll be getting into the New Year game, pushing it to double figures in points.
I would hope so, and I think
perfect.
it can be. I think you're definitely going to see them drop points that they already have in the second week there. Obviously, we dropped points in the first week. But I think they're definitely, as you see, Dazza, they weren't a different team last year. They got a lot of luck in their favour, especially with us being so poor. And this season, you're seeing a very similar kind of style of play that we're used to seeing 2-3 years ago. There's no real difference to them now. They will struggle to pick up points against some of these teams. Your likes of your Aberdeen, your Hibs are going to be up for them, and they will drop points in places. They'll be a bit cocky in places, and I would love it to be double figures, Dazza, come January. I don't think it'll be quite that, but I think we could be a few points clear come that game and just extend the lead.
Bring it on. That's what I say.
I'm the same as you guys. I'm extremely optimistic. I mean, if you take, for example, what you were talking about, Dazza, for last season, obviously there was a certain climate going on. Your COVID, no fans in the stadium, but apart from that, the showing for the team on the park was every single week. It was atrocious. There was guys that were clearly they weren't trying for whatever reason. They just weren't doing it. There was no click in the team. There was no smile, as you've said. There was no enjoyment. Maybe that was pressure of trying to win the 10, or maybe that was just, I don't know, just whatever set of circumstances. But the difference between last season to now, again, I'll talk back to it, you said a smile on their faces, and you can see that. You can see that there's a good atmosphere at the club now.
Hope this washing machine's no too loud.
It's fine, don't worry. It's fine.
Don't you worry. You're washing your Union Jack knickers, have you?
Who does a washing on a Saturday night? Friday night?
Whoever wants to piss off your neighbours.
But as I say, there's definitely there's a more positive aura running about the club now. The people in the stand are enjoying being back at the football. They're enjoying seeing the football its own show. The players look as if they're responding extremely positive towards Ange and his style. I mean, if you look at some of the comments that he's putting out in public about his players, you know what I mean? Everything's all positive. It's almost as if it's like a big brother, but somebody that's getting respect, as opposed to last season where the leader of your team is basically just destroying players in public. You know what I mean? Everybody seems to be wanting to play for the jersey now. And there's been a big turnaround in players, but these players, you're hoping that they'll come in now with the international break and they'll just get a chance to gel together, because as we spoke about the last time again, it's just been game after game after game. They've not had a chance to properly go out and enjoy training and work with each other, work hard. You know what I mean? They've had priorities they've had to go and deal with. So now this is their chance to just bond, get guys like McCarthy up to speed. You're hoping that James Forrest isn't going to be too far away from fitness. Big Julian's hopefully on his way back as well. So that gives you your full defenders. You know what I mean? You're going to have guys like Scales coming in. The good thing is he's got McCarthy there for me. Another Irish international boy, somebody he can bounce off of. Juranovic is coming in. You know what I mean? So everything we're seeing now is it's looking on paper very positive. So hopefully we can start applying ourselves just that wee bit better. You know what I mean? In terms of getting more points on the board and getting a consistency with wins. So
you saw who Ange threw under the bus after the Huns game. You know what I mean? Himself.
Aye.
That's what I mean, Ellie. When he comes out and admits that putting Kyogo on the left and Edward through the middle was a mistake, we all know why he did it, and we all appreciate that he did it for a reason. He thought he was getting something out of it. But to hold his hands up, and it's not the first time he's done it. He's came out and says, "That's on me. I made a mistake. In hindsight, I shouldn't have done it. Basically, I'm learning from it." And he will learn from it, and it's brilliant and refreshing to hear that.
He's taking responsibility.
Kyogo had more chances in the 10 minutes Eddie was off.
Aye.
What I mean,
two or three great chances, which we covered the other day as well.
They get away with that,
they didn't deserve the win. We didn't deserve it either. We totally were not at the level we wanted to be in the second half. But they didn't deserve the win.
See the thing that I'm looking at, right? Obviously, the game was disappointing how it turned out. The first half, we were pretty dominant. We were, especially attacking wise. We didn't show them any. We showed them respect, but we didn't show any fear towards them in the first half. I think we did the second half. So I think us losing that game could possibly be a proper positive learning curve. You know what I mean? Because we'll take lessons for that. Postecoglou will take lessons for that, because that's his first real big acid test as Celtic manager. It's his first really in European football. So you're hoping that everything as I say, he's still learning this in this section of the game. Do you know what I mean? Scottish football, what it's like to be a Celtic manager, big stature club. A really kind of powder keg game like that. Do you know what I mean? So, I'm delighted. I'm delighted with him so far, and I think as it stands now, we've had a good influx of players coming in. So you're hoping there's a good relationship with Ange and Dominic Mackay. Obviously, they must be working together really hard.
They definitely have to be. The number of players we brought in, it's a full starting 11 that we've got there, plus a couple of extras. It's got the manager what he needs in. If you add on all the players obviously we've had previously, and the luxury of wanting to play some youth players, you've got a solid 27, 28 players. We've got a strong squad going forward. I think we've got the backing from Dom as well to a reasonable level. It's still early doors. That's a longer process to see what he can bring to the football club. Going forward, from his perspective, from Dom Mackay, we want to see him kind of influence the backroom staff a bit more and bring in the structural change that we're all kind of craving for. In the next few months, will be very telling to see how he does with that. But as it stands, I think overall we're very positive about the football club just now. Things are so much better than they were last season, and yeah, for me, it's ours to lose sort of thing. It's in our hands, and I think we're an exciting team to look to play against. An exciting team to watch. Sorry, and we're very hard to play against. So yeah, I'm very positive.
The two games that we lost, we shouldn't have lost.
No,
but the Scumbos game was, you know what I mean? We got a goal chopped off. They would have made it 2-1. The Huns game, it was just, you know what? I'm going to put that down to naivety more than anything, and I reckon that it's strange to say, but when we were walking back up to the Gallagate, I think I was even saying to you, I was like, no, that mob's there for the taking. Now, we've seen that mob's there for the taking. They just got away with one today. So I actually genuinely believe. I think it's going to be good this season. I don't care about the cups. Just give the league back, and then if we get the league back, then I can say, look, he's won a COVID title. That was an anomaly. Do you know what I mean? He's won it. It took a fucking global pandemic for you to win a title.
Well, listen, I was the same as you. I was saying earlier on, one of the earlier podcasts, I wasn't concerned about cups. I wasn't concerned about Europe. All I wanted was a league. But obviously, Ange's got us into the Europa League, and we're making good inroads in the league. We're looking positive. So I'm very happy. But listen, I'm going to get back to the wee teaser. Have you had a wee chance to think about it? So you're missing two guys.
I kind of get a word on edgeways with you. I've not had a chance to think.
Shush you, I'm asking that. Shush you, McGinty.
I'm actually struggling. So we
right, I need to give his hints in.
Aye, start giving his hints.
Give the ones we've got.
These are the ones we don't have.
Hey, give me a wee second. Sorry, I get my list up somewhere. No, absolutely not. Look at me. Right, so you've got Larson, you've got Robbie Keane, you've got Ljungberg, Miku, Shifty, Paddy Roberts. Did you say the wee Australian? McDonald, right.
Yes.
You've got everyone bar two.
There were 2 to go to get cement.
I'll give you a hint. They are before 2010. So between 2000 to 2010.
Mowbray's era.
No, previous to that.
Previous to that.
Mowbray's era was Robbie Keane took it in the January. So it was available before that.
Starting then?
McGeady didn't take it, did he?
No, he was 47.
Aye, you never.
46.
46, sorry, man.
Just thinking he never took it before he left, sort of thing. McDonald had it. Who had it before McDonald?
Take away the 6-1, Yama had it.
What's that?
Great number. Love it when a player does that. Take that number.
67. I take a 6 away.
Was it no Juranovic? Did Juranovic take 88?
Aye.
Mm-hmm. I love that as well. I know Hooper took it because of his year of birth and it tied in with Celtic, obviously. But I love that shit as well. When a player just takes to the club and knows what to do. Right, number 7.
I think I'm going to need a clue here. Right, so this guy played for Strachan in his first season, I believe. Striker.
Oh, the Polish boy, Magic.
Whoa.
Zarawski.
Aye. Guys, I told you I would get you, Bonham. Right, this last one, you're going to kick yourself. Right.
I'm kicking myself with Magic.
Right, I'll give you a clue, right? This one was after Larson left, obviously, but directly.
Directly after Larson left, so he took it straight off him, and it wasn't Ljungberg.
No. He played Martin O'Neill's team towards the end. Oh, my goodness thing.
No, because for some reason Steve Guppy went into my head and clearly know him.
No, that certainly was not. I don't think Steve Guppy's ever won a World Cup.
Do we get a nationality out of him?
I just give you a clue. I just give you a clue.
Who won a World Cup? Juninho. The wee Middlesbrough boy.
Hey, you clicked onto that one there. I told you I'd get you.
That took a second. I forgot Juninho played for us.
Aye, he was number 7 or not.
Fair play to you, fair play.
He was up there with Raphael Shearer as a
standing
Celtic performer.
So you can't say his name properly, but you say the other one.
Aye, don't you start changing vocabularies now. Say his name right.
I can't. He played for Celtic.
Raphael Shite is his name. That was his proper pronunciation.
It was.
Shite. Don't talk shit up. Right, listen, guys, that's been another great podcast tonight. McGinty, thanks very much for your contributions. As always,
again. Loving it.
Dazza, listen, mate, thanks.
I've had a few bottles of beer, so can you save all critique to tomorrow? Because I'll go and I'll start arguing with you.
It's not going to be down to us to critique you, it's for the viewers.
I'm sure they'll have plenty to say.
I know it's quite hard to come in late on and make your debut, but I think you've done well. And we're looking forward to seeing you a wee bit more.
That's me. I broke my dog. I promised you 100% the next time that I would do it.
You held up to it. We were late coming on to it. We were late.
You asked me the day after Alkmaar. We lost, and I just wasn't in the mood to talk about losing. Then it was after the Huns, and there was no chance I was going on that one.
So we'll take note. We need you in a positive mindset for the next one. So after the next victory, you'll be on.
So I'll be on for the rest of the season.
Excellent. That's what I want to hear.
Listen, we're going to tie things up there. So just a wee shout out. We're growing every single week. We're getting more subscribers in, more views. So as ever, if you don't mind, just give us a like, a watch, a like, and a subscribe. share us with your friends, share us with your family. We will announce on Twitter the next podcast for next week until we get some arrangements for a date, because we've got a few commitments on.
Who we Ross County in it?
After the international break, it'll be.
Yeah, we back at the 11th Celtic Park, Ross County.
Well, I'm going to see Liam that night. So I don't think I'll get to that game.
We'll work something out. Don't worry.
Is that Liam Gallagher by any chance? Well, let's say, do us a favour, if you get hold of him, get him to give us a wee shout out, will you?
Aye, whatever you mind. The Jungle Gyms podcast. We're on Twitter.
I'll do that. Right, guys. Listen, thanks very much. We've been the Jungle Gyms. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.